Hey guys, okay, I've got everything cut except my decorative panels because I am test cutting as I go. But I have all of my hinge pieces cut and I have all my chipboard cut, and it cut beautifully. I hope you guys can hear me over my machine cutting. I am trying to cut the acrylic sheet. My first go at it was a pass and a fail. I cracked this one doing it. And this one, I had to unload my mat because I had to change the material that I was cutting. And of course, we all know what happens when you do that. It doesn't cut in the right place. But it did work. It was smooth and everything. It's just the wrong size. So I might be able to get it to work, but I don't want to chance it. And I want the right size. So I'm recutting. And if you're cutting the acrylic sheets, I am cutting it on, I set up a custom material of acrylic sheets, and I set it at 350 on the pressure, which was max. I set it on 9 cuts, which was max for custom material. And then I used the deep cut blade as well. And because that was maximum and that's all it would let me do, I am just checking the cut now. Give me just one moment. I want to take a peep at that. Okay. I am not going to unload the mat on those settings, and I am going to have it cut again for a total of 18 passes at maximum pressure and a deep cut blade. And we're going to see if that cuts through. I know that it will score it enough that I can snap the pieces off and get a clean edge. I'm pretty sure that it's going to work that way. Okay, these are all of the lid pieces, and as I stated before, they are scored, but as I took them off the mat, I separated them in different little sections. And here I've got all of my base pieces, and then I don't want to pull anything out. Then I have my cover, etc., my insert. So I've got everything set for each section of this box. That's just going to make it easier. I am putting the textured side of this Cricut cardstock. It's 80 pounds, just in case you're not using Cricut cardstock. I don't know how that's going to react, but this stuff worked really well. I'm putting the smooth side to the outside. So the first thing I'm going to do is glue. I have a score line, and that is just a guesstimation. I don't know if you guys can see that on camera, but it's pretty much dead on. You're just going to center this up, and you can use these cut lines here as a guide too. You just want to get that in the center. And I am using wet glue on this section simply because I want to be able to move it, and if I use score tape, I'm not going to get any wiggle room out of it. So we're just going to glue this frame up. And this will probably be a long video. You may need to do it in sections. The file itself takes 2 hours to cut the chipboard, and that included unloading the mat, loading the mat, taping the pieces down, all of that. So, I mean, that wasn't too bad for 18 pieces of chipboard to be cut. You want to make sure you can get this as straight as you possibly can. I'm just checking to make sure that before I give it a good rub, it looks good. I am just taking my scraper and pushing down on this because I want to distribute that glue really well underneath it. So I'm just kind of helping it along. And I'm going to go to the other side and do the same. And before I do anything else, I'm going to let that set for a moment and kind of soak in. I'm going to give it actually one more pass, just for kicks and giggles, just to see how well that does. Give that a minute to set. Then you're going to take your short pieces. And remember I said to save a piece for a guide? This is where that comes in. Whether you want a short piece or a long piece, that's up to you. Just need something. I kind of like this piece. This is the center of this lid where the two insets came out of it, and I like being able to reach through and use that. That way I can maneuver. But you're just going to glue up the center piece here. And I just got glue on my table. And you're going to put your guide here, and you're going to hold it flush, and you're going to butt that piece right up against it. And the reason that I want to use this piece with the hole in it is I can make sure that I have these lined up perfectly. Should be okay. We'll be able to run that through there pretty good. Okay. And then again, I'm just going to burnish it and distribute that glue, making sure that I keep that square. I want to be able to get that chipboard in there. And then we're just going to turn it around and do the other side the same way. I really don't need to get too deeply in there. You can even put your chipboard up here to see where you need to put your glue as a guide. I'm just going to put it in there. Make sure that you have those straight as well. Just going to give it a rub. And it doesn't matter. I had to hand write mine. I'm going to move that in the files for you guys so that the writing writes in the middle and you won't have to hand mark them as it's cutting like I did. It's one of the reasons for the mock-up. Let's check that cut again. I think I ran this through maximum settings, maximum cuts, deep cut blade. I taped it down just like you would the chipboard, and I'm losing my plastic cover on the front because of the blue tape, but that's fine with me. And then I'm just going to take my scissors and start it snipping right there. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm just snipping it right to where it cut, just to give me something to, and then it's just breaking right away on that second piece. I'm going to do the same thing down here because I don't want to. So yeah, it's going to cut this acrylic pretty well, enough that you can snap it and get a clean break. There is my window. So it does work, and it's a pretty clean edge. What you see there is the plastic. Let's just go ahead and peel that off. Peel it off this side too. This is the protective coating so it doesn't get scratched. Love it. So, and that was on my maker that I did that. Like I said, if you use the deep cut blade and you get enough score on there, it's going to allow you to snap it off and get a clean edge. And that should fit perfectly. So, there we go. And I'm just going to set this to the side because we don't need it now. It's going to be a little while before we need that. And let's go back to making the lid for this box. And now we have the two long pieces. Now you note when you do these here, your guide won't work the same way. You're not going to make this even on this edge. You don't want that even. You're going to distribute that. You're still going to be the width across. Probably going to need the long one for this. We have several spare pieces, so these are just scrap pieces. You're still going to give it that width, but you're going to, it's going to be a little bit longer on each side, is what I'm trying to say. And that's so that when we fold this up, this lid piece is actually, well, if I can get hold of it, it's going to fit like this. Let me get this closer so you guys can see. It's going to, the inside of this lid is going to butt up to the end of this one. So that's why it's going to be offset just slightly on both sides. Okay? And let me get that as my guide there. I'm just going, you don't need to put glue on those tabs. Nothing just yet. And like I said, I am putting the textured side of my cardstock to the inside. I want smooth edges. This is going to become the outside of the box. So be mindful when you're doing those. Let's scoot it up in there. Bump that down just slightly. Just make sure you can get your chipboard guide in there. Give it a good rub down. Okay. And now we'll do this side. And I am using art glitter glue. I sell this in my store. Oops, there goes my pen. I thought my magnet deal was a good deal we came up with the other day, but my magnet doesn't seem to be strong enough. That's an easy fix. We'll just get a new magnet. Okay. And again. Push that right up against. Giving it that width. Take that out. I'll get that good rub down. And don't worry about the little bit of warp in there. That's the moisture coming from the glue, and that's going to flatten back out. We don't have to worry about that. We'll get that out of there. Okay. And I am just going to fold these up just in the center. Just kind of working that paper just a little bit. And this is where you're going to need some score tape. And you're just going to put it right up here on this edge. Get it kind of close. Just tear it off. You're going to do that on all four sides here. Okay, and I'm just going to burnish that as well. Make sure it sticks really good to your chipboard. And then I'm just going to peel off one side, and I'm going to take my glue, and I'm just going to run a bead right here on top of the chipboard. I don't know if you guys can see that. Just a bead of glue right there. And then I am going to pull that cardstock over, and this is why I want the smooth side to the outside. You're going to rub that down, and sometimes when you rub the textured cardstock, it tends to, I don't know, get fuzzy. But you want to give that a good rub, distribute that glue, and make sure it's got a good hold on that chipboard. Okay. If you're using the thinner chipboard like I talked about earlier in the other video, in the other portion of the video, yours may come down a little further. It's okay. You just don't want it to hang over into here. If it's doing that, you'll need to trim off. We're just going to do this side. Same thing. You're going to do that on all four sides. Start in the middle if you can, and work it, and then stick it down. Keep it as smooth as you can possibly keep it. It will matter. It's going to make the difference in a good box and a great box. And make sure you burnish around your score tapes too. This little metal tip is perfect for this. Gets right in there like you need it to. Just give it a good rub. I don't know if I burned it. Extra burnishing won't hurt anything. The smoother you can keep it, the better. off right there. I wanted to pull it in. I think I got it. There we go. So then your box should be looking really nice and smooth. And if you have any corners like I have right here, this will show that chipboard just a little bit, but I have a fix for that. Let's see. If I can find the right one. I found it. This is just the 50-cent apple barrel paint. Now, and that's because I am using a light color. It's going to be really hard for me to find a marker that will cover the chipboard color and blend in with the stock. So I'm going to use just a dot of this paint for that. If you're using like a black base, Copic marker, Sharpie, anything like that, anything close to the color of your cardstock will work. And all I'm going to do, and this just because I got a slight hair off when I put my center down, but it's okay, nobody's going to notice. Just going to put a little dab of paint right there in that corner. This stuff will dry really fast. I'm just going to hit all four corners right there. And if you're using the thinner cardstock, you may not have that issue at all. Okay? I mean, not cardstock, the thinner chipboard. You probably won't have that issue. Let me just keep that handy just in case. So, now that I have that portion done, the next thing we need to do is more score tape. And you're going to run the entire length. Don't want to get into the crevice there. But we're just going to run score tape. And I am going to do a double line. If you have the 1/2 inch, that's all you need. I don't have 1/2 inch, so I'm using what I have. This is where your acrylic will be going, but you do not want to put your acrylic on yet. Do not put your acrylic on yet, because we're going to have those decorative pulls and hinges and stuff that we had said before. Your decorative paper has to go on the outside of the box first. Once the decorative paper is on the outside, then you can put your decorative metal pieces on and then open up your brads. Then you can take off the score tape and put down the acrylic, and then you can put your other hinges on and your decorative paper, and none of this will be seen, and your brads won't be seen. So if you put your acrylic window on too quickly, you won't be able to put your, let me trim that off since it's not going to stick with me. So make sure that you follow along, and hopefully I'll remember not to do it and mess up and have to pull apart and all of that. Burnish down your tape. You want it to stick really well. I am loving this chipboard from Cricut. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. Okay, as you can see, this is where your acrylic window will go. And I've got a little bit of dust on mine, but it's okay. Paper dust. Never hurt anybody. So, now we have that portion done. Next, we're going to just kind of work your side here until it comes up flush against that board. You're going to have to work it because you're basically going to be stretching this paper just a little bit. And then just let it relax. Same thing here. You want to make sure that it gets flush and that it closes down that gap. You don't want it sitting on top of that piece. You want it down beside it, okay? And you're just going to stretch that paper to get it there, okay? Making sure I'm not tearing. The Cricut paper is really doing good for this because it's giving and allowing us to fold and bend, and it's not tearing or fuzzing up. Really like that. So we've done that on all four sides. Don't worry about these tabs yet. You are going to be bringing these up like so, and you want a flush corner, guys. You want a flush corner here. All right? And then you're going to put glue on this tab. You can use score tape if you prefer. I like the wet glue. I want a nice tight corner and I don't want it to move. But the short end is to the inside of the long end. And then you're just going to push that tab around, keeping that tight as you can, but square. And it doesn't matter if it separates a little up here at the top. It'll be okay. We're not done. Just get it as flush as you can get it. Give that a good rub with your finger in there. You can flip it over and rub it too. Okay. And like I said, it may pull apart a little, but you just want to be able to push it in and it go flush. And if it does, you're fine because we've got hinges going to the inside and the outside. You just want a nice, as tight corner as you can get. And you're going to do that on all four sides. Just going to bring that in. My paper is off just slightly. So if this happens to you, don't worry about it. Just trim it. Because I can adjust the file all day long, but if you're off just a little bit, that will happen. And it's not going to matter. All we're doing right now is reinforcing this box. And it doesn't matter if you can see the chipboard here, because unless you're not using the corners. Let me see if I can find them. Like I showed you previously in the video, these little corner pieces. Once we have all the decorative stuff on there, I can get one out of there. These are going to go on like so. So it doesn't matter. It's going to hide whatever you have in that corner. If you have any little mishap or anything, it's going to be hidden. Okay? Just like so. So don't get upset if you're off just a tiny bit, like I said. It's going to depend on how you set that frame in from the get-go. And you can see I had to trim a little piece off. And that's fine. It's a lot more forgiving than working with just a straight cardstock box. Because if they don't fit up flush, you really have no way of hiding anything. See if that pushed in. And then the last one. I kind of think that the textured side also holds the glue and gives it a little grip. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's just my thinking. And I've got a little bit sticking out right there. I'm going to trim that off too. Not going to hurt anything. I don't want that wrinkle there though. Just going to peel it up and put another little dab of glue. Give it a rub. I pushed it out again, didn't I? It don't do as I say, not as I do. Give it a minute to hold. Maybe if I rub it this way instead of pushing on it. And then we have our lid. But we're not through yet. Next, you have 4 of these and 4 of these. We want these first. Let's see. Where are you? There it is. And they have a score line down the middle. And these you want to fold with the textured side, if you're using the Cricut cardstock, to the outside. Smooth inside. These are our inside corner pieces, so you want your textured to go into the corners, if that's the way you're doing yours. I'm keeping mine all the same way because I don't want part of the texture showing, because these edges are going to show. They're supposed to. And even these edges, some of it will show, but don't worry if there's gaps in there because your panels are going to cover those up. I folded that one backwards. I knew something was off there. Texture to the outside. You want a good crease on these guys, so you either use your scraper or your bone folder. This is what I was looking for a while ago. The softer one, to me, does a better edge on these than the hard one. But if you're using the hard one, it will work. Just be careful, don't scrape your paper. And now, you can use score tape on this, guys, if you want. I think that I'm going to, just because it will set quicker and it won't slide and move. So I'm just going to, actually I want it on the corner edge. I am just going to tape all of mine first and then I'll apply. And you really don't want any overhang, so if it's overhanging, make sure you trim that off. This box is really easy to make. It's just a little time consuming because you need all these little pieces. But it's going to be so pretty when it's done. And I am using my Tim Holtz scissors instead of my Cricut scissors for this, simply because of the stickiness. I don't want to gum up my Cricut scissors. I use them for too many things to have them all sticky. And the Tim Holtz scissors here, it doesn't stick to them like it does the rest. Kind of Teflon coated. Okay, and make sure that you rub these pieces too, guys. You want that, you don't want your tape to pop loose on you. Down the road. Okay, and then I am going to, I am the only person that can never move and lose. I lost my weeding tool. Oh, fell on the floor. Just going to pick one off at a time. Going to do all four corners in the same way. But I'm just picking the tape off of both sides. And then that little extra edge, because I don't have 1/2 inch or anything. Not that it would fit for this. I'm just, those edges, I'm doing those edges just so that there's some sticky on them. And then you're just going to stick that down in the corner. And pull your corner in like it's supposed to be and let that stick. And I've got a little piece sticking out here. I'm just going to trim that off. And that's because I didn't get it all the way down in there, but it's going to be okay. And if you are more comfortable doing one side at a time, you can do that too. If it's a little long and you know it's a little long, just pull it out before you let it get stuck good and just trim off a little hair. I didn't put my glue on that one, but I think it's okay. It's stuck. If it's stuck, you don't have to do the glue because we have more pieces going over this. This is just to help pull your corners in. That's all we're doing. And I think the reason that these are off just a little bit is the thickness of the Cricut chipboard, which is a good thing. Not going to hurt if it's off just a tiny bit. These pieces aren't going to be seen anyway. Just don't want them hanging on the outside of the box. Okay, now we have those done. Let me do a little cleanup here. And my little tapes. Okay, the next piece, and some of these are going to look like they are not scored in the center, and that's because they are not. Some are not. There's a reason. So you want the two long ones that are not scored in the center, but the score line is off. It's like 5/8 of an inch score. And you are going to, with the textured side facing you, valley fold. If you're doing textured, and you're just going to fold that down that score. And you'll see one side is longer than the other. It's supposed to be. I got my score off. No, I don't want to do that. It'll be okay. Just going to rub it out. And the same with the other one. Got glue on my fingers. I am a messy gluer. For those of you who know me and come to the lives, you know I'm a messy gluer. Get all over my fingers. It's part of the fun, though. I think I scored that one. Yes, I did. The texture. I folded that one the right way. Yay! Just thought I messed up. Okay. And you can fold that back the other way if you want as well, just to give it some give. Because you're going to open it back up anyway. Okay, textured side up. And it is like almost 2 a.m. here. But I was so excited to do this that I didn't want to stop. And you want to make sure that you get the score tape on here, but you do not want to get it on the score itself. Okay, you want to get it close, but not on the score line itself. it a rub. And then with the wide side, this way, okay? And if you've got a little gap, don't worry about it. It's okay. Not a big deal. Depending on your thickness of your chipboard, it may be. This one should fit pretty much flush. If it's overlapping, you're going to want to trim it, okay? You do not want it to overlap onto your other layer of cardstock. But you can get it right up to it, and it's fine. It's pretty close. Wow. I'm surprised I even designed it that close. Okay. Peel that strip off and align it. Not letting it overlap, but you want it to come to the end. End to end. And just lay that on there. And again, if you have a gap, let me show you my mock-up lid. It's okay. If you have a gap like this, perfectly fine. Not a big deal. Do not worry about it. It's not going to hurt anything. Nothing at all. Okay. And again, like we did on the other lid, I'm going to run a bead of glue. See, my score may be off because of this, but that's okay, because we're going to glue it down anyway. And peel your score tape and try to work from the middle, guys, and fold that over. And run it to the outside, and then rub your edge. Get that nice, smooth, crisp edge on there. And it's hard to see that on camera, but you can feel it. You can feel the difference that it makes. Okay. Don't worry about this, like these little things here. It's all going to come out in the wash. Make sure you don't have any loose edges in there. And then you're going to do the exact same thing on this side. My textured side, there it is. Get your score tape. But don't get on the score line itself. And again, the long side to the outside, and don't overlap. Told you guys this video was going to be a little bit long, but being that I haven't done this type box live before, and we haven't had chipboard and stuff before, I didn't want you guys wondering. I wanted you to see step for step everything you have to do so that you could follow along step for step. You can pause or you can speed it up, whatever you need to do, whatever's best learning for you. But I didn't want to speed up and edit out any parts and leave you guys hanging. If we have mistakes, we're going to correct them. That way, if it happens to you, you'll know what to do. We're going to run that bead of glue all the way down. Don't need much, just a little bit. Start in the middle and push that over. Just like so. And then again on the ends, oops, running out of space. You have two of the short ones. Two scored down the middle and two are off. The ones that are scored down the middle, which will be point to point, you want to leave to the side for now. The ones that are off are the ones you want for this. And you're just going to do the exact same thing with these that you did with the long ones. And I tore my paper right there because I needed a blade change. It was my first mat that cut. I had to pick all my pieces apart on my first mat. But I changed my blade and it was fine from that point on. But it's not going to show. We'll cover it up. I'm just going to dry fit this on here just to make sure that everything fits well. It does. Short side to the inside. A little off, but that's okay. Rub it down. Okay, then you're going to open these up and score tape them. Again, don't get on your score because it will stick. You won't be able to rub it and smooth that edge. I forgot to fold that back the other way, but I'm going to before I stick it down. Just kind of give that paper a way to break down so we can smooth it. And more dry fit. Looks good. I'm going to peel the bottom or the wide edge. And I'm going to butt it right up. If I get off camera at any point, guys, I'm really sorry. I don't mean to. Just center it up. Stick it down. Optical illusion. I thought that was sticking out. Just a bead of glue. glue came out. Had too much glue. Nice, smooth, crisp edge. I have a little, I should have trimmed that off because it wants to stop my paper from fitting flush, but it's okay. If you have a little piece, just work with it. And all I'm doing is lining up these points, guys. Lid was trying to come out there. You want this short piece inside the long pieces. And I'm just lining up the points there. Put that down. And run. I cannot get over this Cricut chipboard. Love it. Again, don't worry about these corners. We're going to fix them. Okay. This one you want to fold with your texture to the outside, a mountain fold. Don't want to bend it. Mountain fold, texture to the outside, smooth inside. Opposite of what we've been doing.
It's 2 o'clock.
I know. We want to finish the lid before I go to bed tonight. And then I will pick up in the morning and we will do the base next. And you want to dry fit these in, guys, especially if you're using, I wanted these to be long enough for those who are using the thinner chipboard, because I knew that if you're using a thicker, you can just trim it down. Okay, and that's going to hinge here, but we're not going to put that one in yet. You just want to dry fit it, okay? And the same on the other side. And the reason we're not going to put these in yet is because we have to put our acrylic in. These are going to go on the top of our acrylic. So we're going to put our metal pieces, our decorative pieces on, our metal pieces on, then we're going to peel that after we folded our breads down from our metal pieces. We're going to peel the score tape, we're going to drop in the window and glue it down. Then we're going to put this hinge over that. It's going to help hold it in, and then there's going to be decorative pieces over that. So that's why we're not putting those in yet. I can't stress that enough. Please don't glue any of that to the inside. We're just prepping it and getting it ready. Dry fit, make sure everything is fitting like it's supposed to. You want to do the same thing with your short ends as we just did with the long ends. You're going to fold those right down the middle. burnish them. You can go ahead and put score tape on them if you want. I'm probably going to use wet glue on these because it will be going against the acrylic. So I'm probably on this piece going to be using the mixed media glue. And I may use score tape too. I don't know yet. I'll know more once I have everything in place. This one is to the outside. Get all of the texture to the outside. And I folded that one backwards. I know I did. Texture to the outside of these. Yes. And just dry fit it. And that one's going to fit fine. And that fits fine. And I'm just going to check it on both ends just in case. Check both of these pieces for either side so I won't have to, it won't matter how I put them in. They'll fit either side. So you're going to set those 4 pieces to the side for now, and I'm just going to put my window in there just to hold them so they don't fall out. We still have these 4 pieces. These are going to valley fold with the texture to the inside. Kind of like I'm creasing these. I like this hard scraper. Works just as good as a bone folder. This is one of the fuzzy ones I had where I cut that first sheet. I'm just trimming off the fuzz. You don't have to trim yours unless same thing happened to you. Okay, got a good crease. Now you can use score tape on these if you want. I got ahead of myself. I don't need to put that in there yet. Or you can just use glue. Pay closer attention and get this lined up closer at the bottom than the top. Top doesn't matter. Remember, we have these pieces that are going to go on the corners, so it's not going to matter. But you're just going to glue these, making sure that you keep, I'm only going to glue one side at a time. I mean, by now your corner should be pretty much square, flush, and in the position like it needs to be. But if not, this piece is going to help pull that in the rest of the way. It's going to cover any gaps you have here on your chipboard so that when you put your decorative paper piece on there, none of that shows. And I'm just going to do one side at a time and come back and do the other. Give it time to dry before I go pulling on it. I don't really need to pull on mine, but some of you may need to, so. Again, pay closer attention lining it up down at the bottom rather than the top. The top doesn't matter as much. And I still got a couple of places to touch up on mine, but that's okay. We'll get there. Give it a rub down. And again, if you prefer to use score tape here, that's perfectly fine. Either one. Myself, I like glue better than I do the tape. But some places you just have to have the tape. And then I'm just going to go and do the other side and pull in if you need to pull in. Nice tight corners. I'm wearing a band. I was reaching for something in one of my cubby holes up there, and the edge of my cubby hole scraped me pretty bad. Actually, it cut me. It didn't scrape, it cut. It just peeled the skin right off. And that completes the lid for tonight. If I can find my paintbrush, I am going to dab paint just like I did on the other, just on these corners. There it is. It rolled up under mine. And it doesn't take much. You're just going to, like I said, if you're using a black or a brown paper, a Copic marker will work. Anything to color that, the color of your cardstock. Just to make it pretty. And it's all nice and finished. And I knew I was going to do that. Dump every bit of that out. But just, like I said, if you're using white, you may, or a light color like I am, you may need just a little dab of acrylic paint while making your box, just so that you can hide those corners. And that is it for tonight, guys. I am going to turn it in, and I will be back with you in the morning, and we will do the base and the insert tomorrow and finish up the lid and hopefully just complete the box tomorrow. It really doesn't take that long. Like I said, cutting is going to be the biggest part and the longest part because of the chipboard taking 20 passes to cut, but it cut so cleanly. I am just amazed how clean the cuts are on that with that knife blade. It's perfect. So you guys have a great night, and I'll see you back here in the morning.